Wagwan, everybody. I am your Jamaican queen, Miss Y. You are tuned into How I See It TV, and this is Accurate Context. Now, y'all, Carlos King is playing in our faces, and I don't understand why. Now, as a Libra, I am disappointed, but I also understand that there is a dark side of Libra, and this is what he's showing. But again, I'm still disappointed. And I'm disappointed as someone who was actually a fan of Carlos King. I'm disappointed as a fellow Libra. I am disappointed as someone who wanted to work with Carlos. But when somebody starts to show you their true colors, y'all, you have to call it out. And last night, down to that messy Monday, Tuesday that he did with Heavenly, he showed his true colors. He showed that he can look in somebody's face and lie. Because the content creators have shown us proof that he is the one that struck their channel. It's in writing. YouTube made them know who put the strike on their channel, and they let us know who struck their channel. Right? And Jamaicans would say that Carlos King talks out of the two sides of his mouth. His mouth is like a two-sided cutlass. Right? It's going to cut you either way. And that's what he did last night on that messy live that he did with Heavenly. Because, and I'm not going to play the clip. If y'all want to go watch it, y'all can go watch it. But believe you me, in like the first couple of seconds of the live, because what it seems to me is they were backstage and they discussed that, look, one, we have to talk about all these YouTubers talking about the strikes to their channel. And we also have to talk about the Expo, aka the Expo, okay? And so that is what they did. Heavenly said, we need to clear the air, blah, 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 on these YouTube strikes. And he's like, I'm not striking anybody's channel. But then, that's on one side of his mouth. But then on the other side, he basically admits that, yes, people who went to the Reality with the King live podcast event in Huntsville, featuring Dr. Melody Cherie Rogers. People who went were recording because they paid their money, and no one was told that they couldn't record until they got into the building. They had to sign some TV release forms. But a TV release form, y'all, is not an NDA. A TV release form doesn't say you cannot record anything from this event. A TV release form just says that we are filming this event and we would like permission to use your image. Right? I believe Ebony the Best, my Jamaican sis, who said that when they were asked at that podcast event to not record a certain part and not to release information on a certain part, everybody respected those wishes. And I believe that if everyone was told immediately, before Carlos walked out, before Melody walked out, if everyone in attendance was told, listen, y'all, thank you for coming out. Thanks for showing support. Please don't record anything from this podcast because we're going to use everything here for, my weekly podcast interviews. And I promise you that when I drop the episode, y'all have all the permission in the world to use clips I am sure that every millimeter, because let's be clear, there were no raindrops at that event. I know Carlos wants to believe that. But the people who jumped on flights, jumped on a bus, jumped in their cars to come to that event, they weren't raindrops. They were millimeters. So I believe that every millimeter in that building would have put their phone down. All the content creators would have put their phone down. They would have come back and they would have said, guys, we have recordings from the live, but we're not going to talk about it because they asked us not to talk about it. But let me tell you, when Carlos drops his video on YouTube, we're going to talk about it. I'm sure that's what would have happened. It's a courtesy that a lot of these YouTubers that were there didn't release the part that they were specifically asked not to share. So why can't Carlos just own that? Look, I decided that I wanted to monetize this this Reality with the King live with Melody for my YouTube and for the show and for all these podcast streaming apps. And I'm mad that all these content creators out there have already released things. And so I struck their channel. And truth be told, Carlos, if you wanted them to remove the video, you could have reached out and asked. And I'm sure all the content creators who have uploaded their personal videos from that event would have taken their video down or at least made their video private until you dropped your video on YouTube. But in the words of Nene Leakes, you never win when you play dirty. And as for the Expo, aka Espo, Heavenly, you wanted to clear it up for yourself, in my opinion, because you didn't want your name to be attached to something that sounded a little bit scammy. And let's be clear, it sounded a little bit scammy in the beginning. And people were reaching out to you when your name was put on a flyer. And you wanted to make sure that it was said publicly that you're not attaching your name to anything that's scammy. It's a legit expo, and you will be there. And you wanted to be a part of promoting it. That's all that was. So Carlos, the people on Heavenly's YouTube channel, the people who watch Married to Medicine that don't know, the people who don't keep up with Love and Marriage Huntsville who don't know, probably believed what you said last night, that you weren't responsible for striking the YouTubers' content. But then if they listen closely, you also admitted that you did strike some YouTubers' channel because they uploaded the entire 2-hour-long event, and that's not true. And on top of that, you cannot stake copyright claims on the content that they posted because they didn't sign anything that said that they couldn't record. They didn't sign anything that said that they could not disclose information from that event. And 3, it's their content. They took their phones out and they recorded it themselves. So you wanting to compare a YouTuber being on the set of Married to Medicine and recording everything and then releasing it to that podcast event is some bullshit, and you know it. But as I said before, you never win when you play dirty. And we see you, Carlos. We see you. And I caught the high-key mellometer shade I caught the high key melody shade too, Carlos, when you said my raindrops wouldn't call people's jobs, trying to get them fired and ish. Millimeters aren't doing that. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I don't know. Maybe they are, but I don't feel like anybody's doing that. And if people are calling around trying to find out what's going on with this expo or what was going on with this expo because the information wasn't clear, that really wasn't about tearing Marsaw and Tisha down. It's more about them being a little bit scammy, in my opinion. The information, as I said before, was a little bit scammy. But again, we see you. We caught that shade. Because you see, it's not the respect that people have for you, Carlos, where the information that was asked not to be released wasn't released. It's the respect that the people in attendance have for Melody. Why that part of the podcast event was not revealed. To this day, no one has talked about that moment when everybody was told to put phones down and not to record. None of the content creators there has talked about that moment. And it's not because of you. It's because of their respect for Melody. All right, y'all. Thank you for listening to another one of my rants. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. I am trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of the month, so please help me get there. Thank you. As I always say, walk good. Bye.